Hello everyone, in this video I'll be taking a look at the new Note 20 and the Note 20 Ultra and answering some of your questions. The main difference between the two is the screen, 1080p 60Hz versus wide Quad HD at 120Hz. The cameras, RAM 8GB versus 12GB, slightly smaller battery, the smaller one's back is plastic, has no expandable storage and has round corners. So right off the gate, things are not looking very good for the Note 20. Considering the retail price starts at $1,000, it becomes very clear that this device exists only to make the Note 20 Ultra feels like a much better deal for only $300 more. Someone asks if you feel the difference in the plastic back versus the glass back. And yes, it's really obvious as soon as you touch it. I wouldn't say it's a big downside. At least you know the back is not going to crack the second it falls on the floor. But it does feel cheap, and on top of all the other compromises, it just makes this phone feel like a waste of money. There's no other way to put it. This is not a $1,000 phone. Samsung really just wants you to buy the Ultra. Let's move on onto the new S Pen. It's what all the marketing for this phone is focusing on. The new S Pen with 9 milliseconds latency. A huge improvement on paper over last year's Note 10, which had a 42 milliseconds latency. All the posters and ads are about the S Pen. They even have a real pen and paper next to each phone so you can compare the S Pen with the real thing. That's how confident Samsung is. And my testing confirms this too. This is as good as it gets for the S Pen. Really responsive and a noticeable upgrade over the Note 10, which in my opinion was already pretty good. I recorded both in slow motion so you can see better how much more responsive it is. And it's night and day. But this is in slow motion. In the real world, you feel the difference, but it won't be a night and day difference. It feels better thanks to the 120Hz refresh rate. If you turn that off, it's basically the same as the Note 10. So it's the new S Pen in combination with a high refresh rate screen that makes the experience feel much better. Now let's talk about the cameras. The Note 20 Ultra is using the same cameras as the S20 Ultra, apart from the telephoto. They swapped the 4x 48 megapixels from the S20 for a 5x 12 megapixels and dropped the 100 space zoom nonsense. Now the zoom is maxed out at 50 times. Don't think it's worse than the S20 Ultra, it was digital zoom anyway. They also swapped the depth sensor for a laser autofocus to help improve the focus problems that plague the S20 Ultra. And it works. As you can see here, side by side, it's much faster and accurate. It slides right into place like a perfect rack focus, while the S20 Ultra is slower, and to compensate being slower, it kind of just snaps into place like an on-off button, creating really unpleasant videos. I already made a really detailed review on the S20 Ultra's cameras, so watch that because they're the same. I'll focus on the telephoto here. Like I said before, 4x versus 5x. Since the camera only starts at 5x, everything above 1 up to 5 will be digital zoom, and it will look bad. You can see here when it snaps into the other camera. Having the telephoto start at 4x means that you are pushing less from the main sensor to get those in-between zooms. So in a way, you are sacrificing some quality in the 1 to 5x range to get more quality in the long end. And it does look a bit better comparing both photos at 50x, but honestly they are both unusable to me. The quality caps at around 20x for both phones, and after that is unusable territory. The front camera is also different. It's now a 10 megapixel camera versus that 40 megapixel camera from the S20 Ultra. But I doubt anyone on Instagram will notice the difference. The S20 was pixel binning into 10 megapixels anyway. The new One UI 2.5 brings some new features to the camera. You can now shoot in 21:9 across all resolutions and shoot 24 FPS in Pro mode and even 120 FPS in HD with all the control Pro mode allows you. Pro mode got some upgrades too. You now have audio meters and precise control over the audio. You can control the volume, select if you want to use all the mics, only the ones on the front or on the back, USB or Bluetooth. So pretty cool stuff. This new mode is replacing the useless color profile mode which for some reason only worked in 30 FPS HD. And the rest of the stuff is the same. You can manually set your ISO, shutter speed, focus and white balance. And it gives you a histogram too, so it's a step in the right direction considering how awful third-party camera apps like Filmic Pro are supported by Samsung. But there's still a thing that bothers me more than it should. It's been 3 years now and you can only use the main camera in Pro mode. To me, that makes no sense. Seriously, you need to give us control over the 3 main cameras, or at least allow third-party apps to control them. It really sucks having no control in the other 2. Also in display was the new Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, the new cloud gaming service for mobile coming this September. It had already a ton of titles and I had the chance to try it firsthand. It takes a bit to start the game, but once it starts, it runs very well. There's barely any input lag and it runs just as if it were a game running on your phone. I tried Shadow of the Tomb Raider and I'm pretty sure the cutscenes were running at 120 FPS. It was butterly smooth. But once you start playing, it dips a lot. During gameplay, it was more like 40-60 FPS. I tried Dirt Rally 2 and it ran very well as well, but since it's much more fast-paced than Tomb Raider, the low bitrate artifacts were very noticeable. It felt like you were watching a stream. I know that's what cloud gaming is, but my point is that the bitrate was a bit too low for fast-moving games. But keep in mind that this is still very early access stuff. There's still 2 months left on the official release, and even if they don't fix the bitrate, this is still awesome regardless. It's console gaming right from your phone with barely any input lag. It feels really good, especially considering most mobile games are just shameless cash grabs. Being able to play actual games on the go will sell like hotcakes. And that's it. Leave any questions you might have in the comments, and thank you for watching and have a great day.